It's been nearly 7 years
Yeah, the atmosphere is something pretty special.
since these bitter rivals
Probably the most intense atmosphere of any game I've played in my career, if I'm honest.
last came toe-to-toe.
And the atmosphere at every game is just so good.
Wins his header, shot on goal, oh what a goal! David Norris has equalised for Portsmouth in injury time!
On the 7th of April 2012, Portsmouth and Southampton met in the Football League Championship, England's second tier of the game, for the 70th time in the professional manner of the sport, and the 139th in all competitions.
This is exploding with delight! What a strike by David Norris! He used to be a waiter, did David Norris? Well, he served up the perfect cocktail here. What a volley!
Today, the two sides are separated by two divisions, with the championship in which they last met the empty gap between them. But we seem to be edging closer and closer to the return of the famous South Coast Derby. I spoke to Southampton legend Matt Le Tissier, who played over 450 games for the club. Le God, as he is known around those parts, believes there is nothing quite like the South Coast Derby.
The most intense atmosphere of any game I've played in my career, if I'm honest. We suffered a defeat in '88 at home, which was a bitter pill to swallow. I came on as a sub in that one. And then we drew them in the FA Cup in '96, and that was an amazing atmosphere again. Just amazing. We just run out onto the pitch at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and I don't know. It was just an electricity around the stadium that just wasn't there for normal games at those, and it was just brilliant because we ended up winning that one quite comfortably at 3-0, but I'll never forget the atmosphere and just thinking, wow, this is a little bit different to a normal Premier League game.
Across the other side of the M27, Portsmouth legend and now club ambassador Alan Knight spoke of his memories of a rivalry during his career.
Unfortunately, I only played in a couple of, I think it was 3 South Coast derbies at the time in my career. And yeah, the atmosphere is something pretty special. I obviously remember winning at the Dell, the old Dell, when we went there and won 2-1. I think it was on Boxing Day when Terry Connor, I think, scored the winner. They're special. They're special moments. Unfortunately, didn't play enough of them, and we don't have enough of them really.
It's the Blues of Pompey who can boast a better major trophy record than their not-so-noisy neighbours. Portsmouth won the FA Cup on 2 occasions, in 1939 and most recently in 2008, as well as being crowned champions of England twice, between 1948 and 1950. The Saints can only claim 1 FA Cup success. Former Pompey forward Ray Crawford is proud of his boyhood club's history.
Being born in Fratton Road, you can't get much nearer than that to Fratton Park. It's a great feeling when I tell people that where I was born, and they look in amazement that I was born sort of just a few miles away from the club. And as I say, the tradition that the club's had over the years has been great. When we go right back to winning the cup in '39 and then winning it again a few years ago, it's just a great achievement. There's so many clubs like to win.
Avid Pompey fan Paul Turnbull, who travels up and down the country to watch his side play, speaks of his delight of seeing the club win the FA Cup in 2008.
Just a quick few words on the FA Cup final. Were you there? And if you were, if you weren't, how great a feeling was that? Because we're doing a little bit on that as well.
My granddad always told me I would never see Pompey win the FA Cup, and I did. And it was most probably one of the proudest moments of my life to go to Wembley to watch Pompey win the FA Cup final. Long may it continue, and long may it happen again to us one day. It may be a few years away, but we will keep it going. All good, it's all good.
Guernsey-born Le Tissier went on to emphasise the importance of the rivalry between both sets of fans.
I think a lot of people underestimate just how big the rivalry is between the two cities. I think it's people talk about the big football derbies, and they'll always talk about Manchester and Liverpool, and You talk to somebody like Lauren McMenemy, who's kind of experienced kind of the tiny weird derby, and he'll tell you that Saints Pompey one is very, very intense and right up there with the fiercest rivalries in the country.
Knightsey agrees, but is disappointed with the lack of games played between the two sides in recent history.
Well, there's always been that rivalry. I mean, as I say, it's just a shame we haven't had that many games over the years, really. As I said, unfortunately, I didn't play that many, 2 or 3. We had a few in the Premiership and what have you, but in recent history, I thought we've always done pretty well against them. But that rivalry, I think, is very important.
Is the English game missing the South Coast derby? This man believes so.
I mean, it would be great. I think if we could have kind of Southampton, Bournemouth, Portsmouth, and Brighton all in the Premier League, I think it would just be incredible for the South Coast, and it would really give everything a real boost. To be honest, so I miss the derbies. I do. I think. I know the police probably don't, because it can get a little bit heated at times from the supporters' point of view. But the intensity of the atmosphere in the stadium is just something that you kind of feed off, and it's just exciting.
So what do the fans who worship Le Tissier and his team think of the South Coast derby?
For Southampton fans, is obviously the biggest game for us. When we're playing Portsmouth, it's literally, it feels like it sounds ridiculous, like a life or death situation. You do not want to be leaving that ground without the win. If you anything but the win, and it just destroys you. And knowing the lot down the road will get the bragging rights again, which obviously as a Southampton fan we're used to in recent times, is just horrible. I think as a football fan, derbies are the games that you live for. Every football fan lives for a derby, and the fact that we don't get them often just puts that extra kind of spin on it. Obviously you see in the Prem, the London teams, say Arsenal, Spurs, they play each other every season. They know they've always got that game coming, whereas as a Saints Pompey fan, because it's such a rare thing at the moment, it's just if Southampton were to go down, I think the only positive I could take from us going down would be the fact that we would have the South Coast derby back, kind of thing. Obviously I think the way we're playing, the way Pompey are playing, there's a massive chance that next season we could meet again. Obviously that would feel better for Pompey fans because they've just got the promotion, we would have been relegated. But I think there's a strong possibility it could happen, and if it does, I mean, brilliant. That would be a day that as soon as the fixtures come out, Saints Pompey ends up being played. It's one you look for.
The season in which the two rivals last met, the 2011-12 Championship one, Portsmouth were relegated to League One whilst going through continuous financial trouble. Meanwhile, Southampton went marching on to the Premier League. Mark Luter was watching that all unfold, but the passion within him never died, even if Pompey itself nearly did.
Well, again, it's very hard, when you love something so much, like I do. I mean, I go home every home game, I go virtually every away game. It was horrendous, what was happening to the club. Like I said, if it wasn't for them people that put their money where their mouth is and put the money in, it'd be gone, and it'd be horrendous for the city itself. It's a community club. I mean, we all know it's an island as well. We're still an island. We've still got that island mentality. So it would have been horrendous had we lost it.
It's quite a rarity to find someone who is loved by both sets of fans, but that's exactly the kind of impact former Saints and Pompey manager Alan Ball had, and Le Tissier shares his memories of a late great Bally.
Yeah, I think he was one of the few people that is adored by both sets of fans. There's not too many people that could bridge that gap, but he was a special man. Obviously a World Cup winner and a manager. For me, my favourite manager I played under. He was just he had a belief in me that kind of no other manager I really played under did. And he kind of built the team around me, and that 18 months that he was my manager that was the best 18 months of my career by a million miles, and I put it all down to kind of his man management of me.
Alan Knight remembers his testimonial, which saw Alan Ball field a strong Southampton side at Fratton Park.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I mean, Alan Ball did brilliant for me to bring a team down from Southampton. Laurie McMenemy, I think, wasn't overly impressed that I didn't have a full Pompey side. I played the team that managed to get into the old First Division, the likes of Blakey, Gilbert and Hilaire and what have you. So those boys come and sort of had a run out. But as I say, I mean, that was a very special evening. 18,000 people turned up for that evening. And as I say, Alan Ball made it even more special. He come on for a little while at the end. And I mean, the result didn't matter. It was just a real good evening.
Matt Tessier played in that testimonial. Do you remember the kind of stick that you might have received at Fratton Park from the crowd? I interviewed him a few weeks ago. He said that he enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, I mean, he was as good as gold with it. He got a bit of stick, but he took it in good stead. And as I say, I think in general it was a well received evening and played in the right spirit. I know there was a little bit of trouble outside. I think a wall got knocked down, but in general, I don't think there was any great deal of trouble. But
Matt Le Tissier recalls another intriguing testimonial that he played a part in.
How much would someone have had to pay you to play one game for Portsmouth?
I actually did play one game for Portsmouth. So I played in Steve Claridge's testimonial for a Portsmouth 11, and so I have stood and played at Fratton Park in a Portsmouth jersey. So yeah, and he didn't have to pay me anything, which looking back he should have done really. That was quite risky.
Yeah.
Could we see another South Coast derby on the horizon in the near future? Pompey are flying high in League One, whilst the Saints are coming to terms with another relegation battle in the Premier League. We could see that long-awaited meeting between the teams as early as this year.